Hello, everyone. It's Sam here for another weekly forecast. So glad that you've been enjoying them. Make sure to follow via Instagram and Facebook as well, which I've linked below for the kind of typed out in-depth daily horoscopes and astro weather. But without further ado, let's go ahead, pull up the chart and look at what we have in store for this week. We're going to focus very heavily on Thursday and Saturday, where a lot of the tension is. And as always, I have time-stamped the exact aspects below. So getting into it, we'll begin with Monday. And Monday, we only have a little bit of tension around midday as the moon in Cancer makes a square to Jupiter. So our emotional state is going to kind of come across that authoritarian, inflated structure that is Jupiter and create a little bit of tension. But other than that, Mercury will trine Pluto in the evening, and that will give us a nice ability for the mind to process the subconscious and to help kind of store memory and get through some of those deeper, heavier mental themes. And then we come to the end of Leo season. So sorry for all of my Leos, but your time is past, and we are now moving into Virgo season. Virgo is the mutable earth sign of the manager, and hopefully, especially as we see on Sunday, some of those Virgo themes will help us clean up the mess that is this week. Now, as we move into Tuesday, we actually have a really fun water theme throughout the day. We're bookended by two very strong water transits. So first, the moon in Cancer will trine the south node at 6:46 a.m., giving us purging, giving us the need to kind of emotionally cleanse, to release any stagnation in regards to feelings. And yes, the moon will sextile Uranus as a minor aspect, so there will be a little bit of unpredictability, maybe even some digestive rumblings on Tuesday as well. But then we close out the day with the moon in Cancer making a trine to Neptune for an early bedtime. We love the water signs being so present, especially towards the evening, because that allows us to slip into those subtler realms of consciousness easier, and it'll help give us the flexibility and softness that we need to counterbalance the rest of the week. So I like the healing themes of Tuesday overall. Wednesday, not so much happening on Wednesday as we look at the chart of Wednesday. So we're kind of wrapping up an in-between aspects. The moon will oppose Pluto at 2:16, giving us very deep dreams brought about by the sensitivity of that water. The moon will trine Mercury in Virgo, very, very helpful, first thing in the morning before moving into Leo at 9:09 a.m. And then we'll sextile Mars and Gemini at 2:16 p.m., all in Eastern Standard. So I think that it's a really low-key day on Wednesday. It's a good preparation day. It's a good day to not really focus on things that are too heavy, but to get things in order. That moon sextile Mercury Virgo between Cancer and Virgo, that'll be a really, really nice way to kind of get the early morning productive and then move into that Leo, which is more energized, more dramatic, especially with a kind of Mars-backed day, a lot of getting stuff done, because we certainly won't be able to get stuff done on Thursday. So let's look at the very intense, very frictionous themes that Thursday is going to bring our way. So if you scroll down into the description for the video, you'll be able to see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 aspects that we have going on Thursday, 3 of which are squares, which are tension-based aspects. And then we also have 2 kind of changes in our astro weather as well. So at 12:11 a.m., right off the bat, right after midnight, we have a fire trine. And fire trines are naturally going to be disruptive to sleep because the energy of heat, of fire, of passion is not something that we like to see in the middle of the night. We want things that are kind of earthy or watery to help with the soothing sleep. We also have Venus squaring the nodes on Thursday at 3:03 a.m. So 2 really hard aspects for sleep on Thursday morning. We also have Uranus retrograding in Taurus. So Uranus, that planet of unpredictability, of uprootedness, of natural disasters, starting to go backwards, starting to rehash all of those lessons. And that will be just all of the outer planets retrograde at this point, indicating that it's time for us to slow down, to reevaluate, to really make sure that the messiness that occurred in the first part of the year gets understood and recapped. The moon will square the nodes in the evening, giving us indecision. As the moon conjoins Venus and Leo, we start to get a little bit of healing on the books because Venus, fresh from her square, will be a really nice sympathizer. And even though Leo tends to be this sign of passion and drama and extroversion, I think this toned down Venus and Leo, fresh off of her node squares, will be just a more sensitive and caring and heart-focused Leo, not necessarily kind of ego and self-identification based. Mercury moving into Libra, Mercury moving into an air sign will be helpful, but it is technically a downgrade for Mercury. Mercury, it seems like Mercury just moved into Virgo, which is the sign of Mercury's exaltation, strengthening the mind. And Libra, as the scales, is prone to a little bit more indecision. So Mercury in Libra will produce a little bit more waffling, a little bit more balance in the mind, but that's not going to be as clear and focused and task oriented as Mercury in Virgo. Then finally, later in the evening, the moon will square Uranus, the planet of unpredictability, who is now retrograde, and that's going to bring about some friction to kind of seal off our day. Whew, that is a lot. That is a lot happening on Thursday. So really take your time, minimize appointments on Thursday, and really focus on letting that be just a very calm and patient day. Friday is cleanup from that. So we only have two aspects, which is really, really great. The moon opposes Saturn overnight, which won't be like super restful for sleep. But as the moon moves into Virgo later in the evening, we have a day that is void of course. It's this really nice kind of in-between transition, break, disconnect, not a very productive day, but not overwhelming like Thursday. So Friday is going to be our catch-up day. Friday is going to be our recap day. And it'll be a really nice time to just not be so focused on everything that happened on Thursday, but also to realize through that disconnection, hey, how much of this was the astro weather and how much of this was my choices, my influences, what I've got going on right now, and distinguishing between those two. Saturday is going to be our second busiest day of the week. So Saturday has 3 squares back to back, and again, squares representing friction. So between 12 a.m. And 12 p.m., or no, I'm sorry, right back to back. Right. So this is the day with 12:32 a.m. and 12:43 a.m. right back to back. We have Venus and Leo square Uranus, Sun Virgo square Mars, and then Moon Virgo square Mars right as we get to the new moon in Virgo. Now, the rest of the day will be great because the moon in Virgo is all about kind of tidying things up. But in order to tidy things up, we first have to identify them as a mess. And Saturday night is going to be the time where or Saturday early morning rather, is going to be the time that we identify all of this nonsense as a mess. So yes, we will be tying things up with a nice bow. We will be getting into that new moon in Virgo, which is very much about problem solving, which is very much about bringing new senses of order, habits, routines, and new versions of structure. It's kind of like rewriting the rules to your game. But in order to rewrite the rules to your game, you have to realize that some rules have loopholes for cheating. And we need to identify that cheating to begin with. And so these squares, these frictionless aspects are where the moon and Venus and the sun all start to realize like, hey, these are not allowing everybody to play fairly. So we need to address these and kind of nip them in the bud. And so that new moon in Virgo on Saturday will then usher an entire day of the moon in Virgo, just tidying, nitpicking, and bringing together this order, this organization, and this management of resources that unfortunately was preceded by some pretty tough astro weather. Sunday, we have a lot of outer planet action and a lot of themes that are going to be subtler, not as intense, but still very present. So early in the morning, the moon will trine both the North Node and Uranus. North Node is our focus on the future, our focus on what will be, and Uranus is that planet of unpredictability, but settling into a new order. And Venus will oppose Saturn, Moon will oppose Neptune. These are all themes that help to slow us down, but look at the bigger picture, as well as the Moon trining Pluto later in the evening. Sunday is that big picture day. And yes, that new moon in Virgo will be the catalyzing event early Saturday morning to help us think about these bigger themes and these kind of forest aspects, as opposed to Thursday, which is very much focused on the tree in front of us, right? But Sunday will be that day where we start to receive the full download of that progress. And I think that that will be a very nice way to end our week. But again, as a theme for the week, just be very aware of Thursday. Saturday as well will be very catalyzing. This is not going to be an easy new moon, just like the full moon before this was also not super easy. So just be aware that there are still themes being cooked. There is still order that needs to be resolved. And although newness is on the horizon, in order to discover the extent of that newness, we first have to identify what needs to be refreshed, what problems need to be pulled out. You know, that newness, that hole, that vacuum, that clean slate was first written on. It was first dirtied. It had thorns in it and weeds and brambles, and we need to identify the weeds and brambles before we remove them and plant something new. So a little bit of heavy lifting on that part, but hopefully you'll be able to do it with ease, understanding some of the astro weather coming at you this week. Thank you so much. As always, please feel free to comment, share, like, subscribe, and we will be back next week for another round of the weekly forecast. Have a fantastic week, and may the stars be ever in your favor.